to the sewing room. Today I thought we could talk about the making of this dress, and I'll share some tips and tricks that might help you with your next stripe project. Starting at the beginning, I absolutely fell in love with the Coquette Ribbons by Sew Me Sunshine. It's one of their exclusive prints, which means it's the only place you can get it, and I had to have some. So first I made a mood board, and I'd been listening to lots of 70s music. That's kind of like my standard working playlist in the background, and then was thinking about how much I love Daisy Jones and the Six, both the book and the TV adaptation. I don't know if you've seen it. Plus, you know, like cottagecore's made such a big comeback. So I started to pull all these ideas together, and then I found the image of this vintage Vogue in the top corner, and it was such a great help because it really helped me like visualise the idea of the contrast panels. And then the McCall's in the upper right, that helped me like think about the square neckline. That's a current McCall's pattern. I'm afraid that other Vogue is long gone. But yeah, lots of inspiration on here from like Laura Ashley, Christy Dawn, Stevie Nicks is on there. And I really wanted to embody this 70s kind of breezy vibe. I started getting really excited. So I decided to use McCall 7948. It's such a versatile pattern. And I was thinking of View D, if you can see, like that has trim sewn on top. And it really reminded me of the stripes. So that gave me the excitement to like play with the stripe direction, and I figured I could put a square neckline on it pretty easily. I also had Simplicity 9294, which I'd made before without that notch in the neckline. So I thought, how about using the facing pattern pieces to help me draft the right shape for the neckline? This is before I even thought about adding a striped square neckline. We'll talk about that. But yeah, the plan was always to have some kind of square neckline. Now, as you can see, this fabric is all vertical, but they're not equal columns. The roses are equal, but the two other flowers are not the same size. And then I had to accept it was never going to be perfectly symmetrical unless I considered this the centre line, but I wanted to have the roses as the centre line, and I had to keep all this in mind basically when planning my print layout. I love the rose the best, so I fussy cut long strips with this, like the rose in the centre and a seam allowance on either side. This allowed me to stitch close to the edge, the little kind of striped edging that they had. And I could use that you could see it on the reverse side of the fabric, so I could just follow the outline of that stripe, and I could stitch the perfect seam, equal seam. So I started with the skirt first because I thought that would be the easiest. The McCall skirt is pretty much just like gathered rectangles in the tiers. So I started by inserting one of the stripes between those two tiers. I started with the non-gathered edge, and then I gathered up my fabric and attached that to the lower half of the stripe. And it went pretty well, so I felt confident. Then I decided, how about if we added a third tier to the skirt and I could do it again. So that's why I can see on this image that there's an extra stripe waiting to go. So I added the hem ruffle for a lovely finish. Here's a look on the inside. You can see where I was following that line. I had to get it perfect. Sometimes I had to unpick ever slightly and redo just to make sure that you could always see the edge of the stripe on the right hand side, and I think I did a pretty good job. It was slow and steady work, very like zen and mindful. I lowered the speed on my sewing machine to get it done, but yeah, I'm really pleased with it. So after the skirt I assembled the bodice. I attached everything before I'd cut out the square neckline. This was a huge mistake. I kept thinking, oh, it'll be fine, I'll just cut it out afterwards. But then I obviously cottoned onto the idea of playing with the stripe direction and making a striped yoke. And doing this after the bodice was constructed was the worst decision. So if you're going to copy this project, don't do what I did. Add your square neckline immediately as you're cutting out your pieces. Save yourself a lot of bother. So I had my bodice all assembled, and I created the yoke using those facing pieces that I mentioned from the Simplicity pattern, and I mitered the corners. So you place your two strips together and sew on a 45-degree angle. You open them up, you've got a lovely 90-degree corner. I assembled this whole yoke, and then I had to press under the outer edge and stitch it onto the bodice, hand stitching all this outer edge. It was excruciating. And then I could cut away the inner excess fabric from the round neckline. Again, I do not recommend doing this. Then I had to create a facing, so I did the same exact technique, so it looks exactly the same on the inside. And I placed them right sides together, sewed around the neckline, turned it on the inside, and then again I had to hand stitch everything in place because I couldn't use a machine stitch. I didn't want anything to show on the outside of the dress. So actually it was quite nice in the end. I packaged it all up and I took it away with me on a sewing day that I was having with some friends from Sew Over 50, and I got to just sit there and chat and gossip and drink tea while I did my hand stitching. So yeah, it was a really lovely result in the end. But again, I do not recommend this. Cut it out from the start. Don't do what I did. Here you can see those finished mitered corners. It does look really good with the fact that you can't see any top stitching. And then here it is from the back. You can see it's ever so slightly angled in shape on the back. I did an elastic channel at the back waist to cinch it a little bit more close to the body. And here are some stills for the people who really love to look at photos. The colours are amazing in this dress. It makes me so happy to wear, and I'm really pleased with how it turned out. And if you like the videos of me wearing this dress, they were taken at Parsifal Hall, so if you're ever in North Yorkshire, I recommend going to this beautiful gardens. There's a woodland with amazing rhododendrons and a waterfall, and then it leads up to the main house, which has incredible gardens and then a view across the moors. Very romantic, so we really like going there. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Let me know in the comments if you have any questions or thoughts, and maybe hit the subscribe button so you never miss another update from me. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you all soon.